Excellent. All right. Welcome to the Citadel for Metal Fellowship here at progressiverockcentral.com. And today we welcome Amy Gould from Erie, Pennsylvania, and the band Eden on Fire. And oh my God, she did a video for my review. No one has done that. Thank you.
You're
That
so welcome. I appreciate your review. It was such a great review, and I was like, I have to highlight this so that people that don't have the attention span to read the whole thing maybe will be drawn in to, kind of maybe go look at it thoroughly.
I do write long, that's true. But my feeling is if an artist puts this much time, which all of you do, years and years to maybe create something, you got to give them at least a page. I mean, my God, and so many reviewers, here's a paragraph, thank you very much, goodbye. No, this artist put, time, effort in, yeah, give them their due.
Yeah, we
So
sure did.
they released their new album Unresolved back in November, which of course I didn't find out about until now. But oh my God, I'm so glad. And I can't remember where I first saw you, but it was somewhere on Facebook, and it might have been one of the radio shows. But I saw that and I said, I got to check this out, and then played the music, and whoa. She's really brings back, as I said in the review, that early like Kiss and AC/DC and all those bands that I used to listen to as a kid. And she goes right back there, and it's wonderful. So thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you.
Hey, you said a few things, but did you want to say anything else? Because I tend to
No, I
talk.
just want to thank you for having me on the show here. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the review. It was really awesome and definitely good for the ego. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for that video. That was incredible. Tell us how Eden on Fire began, how you chose that name, where you found all your members, how you got started singing. She's been singing for a long time. She is no novice. So, uh, and I wish I had heard about her years and years ago. I would have had this interview a long time ago. But go ahead.
Well, thank you. I can say I was on a long hiatus, so you probably wouldn't have heard about me a few years ago. Um, so I'll start from the beginning. I started singing from a very young age, and I got bit by the rock and roll bug when I was 16. I was in my first rock band at 16. I was the female singer, so I was front sometimes, but I was also the keyboard player and backup singer for the male fronted songs. So that was my first taste of all that, and just that was it. That was the bug that bit me. And so then after that, I graduated from high school and I went off to the Philadelphia region as a music major. I was a vocal performance major and I was studying like classical music, classical opera, and things like that. And I did it for about a year and a half and decided it just wasn't for me. I wanted to be out on that stage, and the rock world was really where I wanted to be. So I ended up dropping out and going and pursuing a career in Philadelphia for some time. I was pretty young, and I fronted a couple of different metal bands. I was in cover bands first, and then eventually cover slash original, and then eventually I just went right to the original scene. Um, I was never writing the music though. I wrote lyrics for a lot of them in the vocal lines, but I never brought my own music to the table. And I had been writing music since I was a little girl, like at piano. Nothing that I would put in a rock album now, but back then, it was what it was.
But you're
Um,
doing it, yeah.
yeah, it was a little maybe Debbie Gibson-ish, some of it, but for those who remember her.
Yeah, oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but then I fell into a very toxic marriage, and that marriage took me away from the scene. And I was in that for a really long time. I kind of lost my mojo for writing. I fell out of being in bands. I just put myself on the sidelines and just became a shell of who I was. Finally realized this relationship was toxic. unfortunately, it was after a long period of time, and got out of it. And when I got out of it, it was like 2018.
Wow.
So over the course between 2018 and 2019, um, I really wasn't still writing anything, but then the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And when
Just when
that
you're getting
hit,
your mojo back.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
The pandemic hit and there was nothing else to do. So I sat at my piano and I was like, I opened up an old notebook that I had that had some music in it. That I had started lyrics, I had started writing chord progressions that I put down, and I'm like, this is something. What is this? I started this a long time ago, kind of got writer's block and just left it. It'd been there for years. So I said, I can do this. So I sat down and I wrote a tune.
Wow.
It's none of the ones you've heard here. It's a little more mellow. And after that, they just kept coming. And so
Wow.
I sat there and I wrote a good portion of what you hear on the album during the pandemic, sitting at my piano with MIDI and drum tracks. And after the pandemic started to sort of finally things were opening up here, I had met our bass player online and he had offered to, start putting down some bass lines for me. So he was kind of the first person in the band. Eventually, I moved myself from where I was up here to Erie, and we started finding other members. So it took us some time to sort of get the original lineup in place. We went through kind of a revolving door of guitar players, which I'll talk about in a minute. Seems to be a thing, but
For
um,
everyone. Yeah.
it was like 21 when the band originally formed, and we had a different guitar player than the one on the album when we named the band. Um, we were just looking for something different that had it. I wish I could say it's a fantastic story, but we were really just throwing ideas out there. And Eden came up, like Fires of Eden. I think there is a band called that. Other things like that. We were just trying to think of something that had like a female connotation that also had that sort of, fire to it. So
Yeah.
Eden on Fire got thrown out there and we all looked at each other and we went, yeah, that's
That's the
awesome.
one.
So
Yeah.
we went with it. And then we had a guitar player changeover and it became the official lineup that you hear on the album. So that's how the original beginnings were. We started just playing some of the tunes that I wrote from scratch and tweaking them. So mostly what you hear on the album is different than what it sounded like when I wrote it on MIDI. Fallen is probably the only one that's still very much true to the original. But you can still hear them if you go back and listen to my old stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, that's Brigade, okay. um,
Oh,
and
I think,
Parasite, and but after that, then it took us a good solid couple of years to get that album out. So when we got it out, it was released this last November, as you mentioned. We had a big album release party, and then I think, oh, we got signed in 1 year in, we got signed. So we've been signed with DI Records since then. But as soon as we released the album, I had a couple of members that left. So my drummer and my guitar player left. We're headed obviously in a good direction in terms of this as being a career. Both of them had other obligations that kept them very busy and they weren't able to put the time in. And I don't think, quite honestly, they wanted to live on the road and things like that. So I was like, here I am. It's like December and I don't have a band right now. I have a bass player and me, and we're not going to get real far with that. So
need more.
um,
Yeah.
I started looking for new members. Thankfully, I was able to find people pretty quickly. And our drummer, Steve Starvaggi, joined with us. I should tell you, Scott Haggerty is our bass player. Steve Starvaggi joined us in December. And then also Connor McCrae, who was already sort of known in the power metal scene. He's a local guy here who's phenomenal on guitar. He came on board. So we were able to get right back up on our feet again. And get out there and start playing. So we've played quite a few shows with that lineup. But most recently, Connor McCrae has joined another metal band, a power metal band out of Boston called Adamantis. And so he's moving on. And we
Uh,
just now brought a new guy in. So we've just started. Um, his name is Joshua Squatch. He goes
I
by.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's awesome. He's young and hungry, and we're really excited to have him on board. So um, we've had one rehearsal with him. We're looking forward to another one tomorrow, and I think we're going to get back on our feet pretty quickly and start writing again. And so that's where
Beautiful.
our focus is right now.
All
I
right.
told
And
you more than you needed to know.
no, we don't know anything about you. No, that's good. I mean, I do, but the people listening don't probably. Tell us about some of your influences because I mentioned a few bands, but who did you grow up with? Who do you emulate? Who do you look up to? What are your favorite bands?
So, growing up, I listened to all sorts of stuff. I was listening to pop music, I was listening to hard rock, I was listening to metal, but I gravitated towards the hard rock metal of the time. So my ultimate idol, performer, vocal, everything is Pat Benatar. So when I was
Oh, yeah.
growing up, that's who I wanted to be. I used to, stand in front of the mirror with a hairbrush, being Pat Benatar.
He's a good
But I
one to
also listened.
follow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just admired her whole career trajectory. I think I heard an interview one time when I was pretty young that she had trained classically
Oh,
and
wow.
and I ended up on that same path. There's probably no coincidence there.
Yeah,
So, I just thought she was it, and I still do
she
actually. I just
is.
saw her
Yeah, yeah.
recently again, and she's amazing. Um,
Still going. Yeah.
yeah, and
Strong.
yeah, exactly. But I also was listening to Heart, and the
Mhm.
female fronts, and then Vixen came out, and I was really into Vixen. So I have always gravitated toward the female fronted bands, and especially a little bit on the heavier side. It wasn't until I got, I think, a little bit older that I started listening to the metal, like the Judas Priest and the Dio and things like that. So my influences are kind of all over the place. Um, but you hear the 80s influence in there. You hear that whole structure of the song, but we're trying to put a new spin on that. So we've been told we're really unique. Nobody really can pigeonhole us real well in what our
No,
genre
no.
is.
That
We're kind of somewhere in the symphonic metal genre because of all the piano and strings that we use, but we're not operatic and we don't do a lot of the symphonic elements that the bigger symphonics do, like Epica and things like that. But we're also not hardcore, we're not new metal, we're just kind of our own thing, which I think is awesome because I think we're
that's
setting
what you
a new,
want. Yeah.
maybe we're creating a new genre, maybe.
Good. No, that's excellent. Did you tour Unresolved last year with all that band, changes going on? That must have made that difficult.
Yeah,
I have seen videos where you've played live, but did you have like a tour or not yet? You're
we
go ahead.
didn't have any major tours. We've done a couple of what we call mini tours. We traveled down to Virginia and Eastern Pennsylvania. We've gone into Virginia a couple of times, Winchester, Virginia. We've played up in New York and over in Ohio, so kind of a regional touring kind of situation. But we're looking now to take that to the next level once we get everybody caught up to speed. So that's the plan. We definitely want to be a touring band. And so we're just trying to get, like you said, everything back in place again, get people caught up so that we can start doing that. We recently have partnered with a booking agent management company, Massive Media out of Mississippi, out of Biloxi.
Yeah,
So we're looking forward to finally having our stuff together so that they can start helping us actually get out there a little bit more. So we're applying for festivals for next year and things like that. So we're hoping we'll get into some of those.
I really hope so. No, you
Thank you.
definitely. How is the album selling? And are you reaching not just the United States, which I'm sure you are, and especially the region you're in, but is it reaching beyond to the outside world?
It is, and that
Yeah.
that was a big shock for me when it first started happening. I mean, as soon as the album hit, we were having hit. I mean, we are on every continent now, which
Oh,
amazed.
good.
I didn't foresee us being in Asia, you know what I mean? But we are, and we have listeners. When I look at the statistics, all over. But we've actually had people from Europe trying to get us there. They're like, we
Yeah.
want you guys to come here. So it's really exciting because our music probably sits real well there. It's
Yes.
a little bit more up what they're doing over there, which is also kind of how I came about the band idea. I was listening to the female-fronted symphonic metal out of
Yeah.
Europe, and that was like, wow, this is new, this is amazing, I love this. So it kind of gave me that little kick in the butt to try to start something similar to that. So, but
And
yeah, we're
every
looking forward to that.
And I've been sort of preaching it for years that, I grew up with all male singers and, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, all of them, and I love them. And there's nothing wrong with a male singer. But after a while, you want to hear something different. And, along came Epica, all these other bands, and it's like, oh my God, that sounds good too. And
Yeah,
it's like, why not? Yeah. So now I've almost, no, I'm not exclusive, but more and more of the bands that I review, the bands that I listen to are, female fronted. It just gives you a different sound. And yeah, and you're very correct in that Europe is just big with this.
yeah.
Excuse me. And this weekend is I think it's this weekend, the Aryan convention. I don't know if you know who Arjun Lucassen is. Um,
No,
he
no.
created this whole genre of Aryan and space kind of symphonic prog metal. And anyway, he's had some of the best female vocalists in Europe and
Nice.
probably America as well on his albums. And I wouldn't say he's the only one, but he helped build this network.
Right.
And so that's a good example. I mean, they're bringing thousands of people, and then all of the big metal events that happen over there have some sort of female. Uh, Visions of Atlantis is another one if you haven't
Yeah.
heard of them.
Yeah, I know of them.
Um,
Yeah.
there's many, but
Yeah.
it's
Within
great to hear.
Temptation
It's
is
it's great to hear women finally, being given that chance and being considered, at the same
right.
level, or
Right.
in some cases higher, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the things I've talked about before is how it's changed so much because back when I was doing metal years ago, it wasn't a woman's world,
Yeah.
the alternative music had come out and so there was a lot of female like Sheryl Crow and things like that, Gwen Stefani, all those girls came out and I was like, "Yay, it's exploding with women," but it still wasn't heavy music. It was still really in the very rock genre, borderline sometimes soft rock and adult contemporary almost now. So I was like, we still didn't have a foothold. So I never even met any other female fronted metal bands when I was in Philadelphia. I feel like I was the only one sometimes. I'm
Wow.
sure there must have been more, but I
Yeah.
never ran into them. So we were very few and far between. And sometimes that was difficult because we didn't get taken seriously.
Yeah.
I can remember at least one show, where we were opening at a rock club in Philadelphia, and it was like a five-band show. And I remember the guys being like, "Are you here with your boyfriend?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"No,
oh my
no, I'm
gosh.
not a groupie.
Yeah.
I'm the front." So,
Wow.
I got a lot of that, and not, and them kind of poo-pooing, whatever we were doing because, oh, it's just a girl. But
Yeah, well, you mentioned Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart.
yeah.
They're obviously we're big fans of them from Seattle here, and they went through absolute hell.
Oh, I'm sure.
But they did have a few people like Jimmy Page and Robert Plant that said, give these ladies a chance, and look at what they did.
Right.
Um, and yeah, uh, there's always somebody out there that gets it
Right.
and helps out. There's a lot of people that don't get it. And
Yeah.
you're right. It's a tough road.
It's
Uh,
getting better though. I don't
Good,
have that problem anymore. That
good.
I have not run into that since those years. So, which is really nice. Because you have people like Lizzie Hale and
Yeah.
Amy Lee who kind of crossed the threshold for us and got people to take it seriously in this country. And like over in Europe again, it's a different game, but they're much more accepting of all of it. But over here, you know, Courtney LaPlante, people like that who are out there doing some hardcore stuff and they're considered noteworthy now. So
Serious. Yeah,
it's a better
serious
time for
performer.
us.
Good, good. All right. And so do you have a slate of shows for next year, or you're still working on that? It sounds like.
We're still working on it. We
Okay.
kind of put things on hiatus. One of the things, well, we have applied to a bunch of festivals, so hopefully we'll get
Yeah.
into some of those. We're trying to focus a little bit more on quality over quantity. Not to say we had non-quality gigs before, but we were doing a lot. We were playing out probably every other weekend for a good solid amount of time. And I love it because that's my favorite thing. I love to be on stage. I love the performance. I love interacting with the crowds and the fans, and that's my thing. But that said, we a little bit of the writing suffered from that because we didn't have as much time to put into the writing. Unfortunately, because we're not a huge band yet, we're not making any income from it for the most part. So all of us have day jobs. So trying to work around day jobs and then having all these gigs, our rehearsals were suffering. So for us to actually write. So that's where we want to be now. I want to start, we're going to actually be going into the studio next weekend to
Good.
track a couple of singles. So looking forward to that because we haven't done that in a real long time. And hopefully then get back into the writing process and really hunker down on that. That's the plan.
And I know Prague probably isn't your first choice, but Prague Power just finished up in Atlanta, and they had a metal band, metal, female fronted metal band that I did a review on. Uh, Definitely, if you haven't applied, that's a good one.
I'm pretty sure we have. I have to double check
Okay,
with our agent, but I'm pretty sure we're applying to pretty much all of the ones that like
good.
kind of fit with it. Like I said, we don't really fit a genre perfectly anyway.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, if there's a symphonic metal genre, we might fit that a little bit better, but we're still, you know, people have compared my vocal style to Dio. So I mean, we're not
yeah,
exactly singing. I don't sing with my pretty voice. I have a wide range, so I can go
yeah.
up into the rafters and sing pretty opera stuff, but I don't like to do that with my rock. So I'm more of a power singer, I guess.
And don't be afraid of Coachella and the festival in Austin or any of those. You never, it's like you
You
said,
never
you
know.
never do know. I mean,
Yeah,
they might, no one ever thought of, sending a medal, or no one ever thought of having a metal band. And hey, we
yeah,
need
that's a
one.
good point.
Boom,
Yeah.
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 All I
And
can
I think
say,
our metal's sort of accessible too, which
yeah,
gives us a little edge. So we're not so hardcore that we only fit into that, you know, genre where people
yeah.
like, okay, you have to be in that kind of festival because it's not something that our listeners are going to want to hear. But I think we kind of cross the divide a little bit. So I think that's in our benefit.
And I know you've progressed from this, but I got to mention that when I was growing up in Parma, Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland, everyone was, high school. There wasn't much to do. The Midwest, you just don't have all the scenic beauty and all that. There's lakes, there's places you can go, there's forest, but a lot of time was spent, I remember for me anyway, you'd go out to bars with friends, you'd go to, and looking for music.
Yeah.
And so is that kind of the way you started up, going to local, and this is a long period. Now you're
Yeah.
moving on beyond that, you're
Yeah.
wanting to get even bigger. But is
Yeah.
that how you started? Because that to me was how a lot of bands got started, and then Rush, they did these little tiny clubs and things like that. And now, obviously they're legends, but
Yeah, I mean, we still occasionally play the small corner bar. We have fans here in Erie, so we do like to, you know, bring our fans in. They want to hear us, so we want to play to them. And sometimes those are the best shows because, you know, it's
yeah,
personal. But yeah, that is, I mean, exactly how we started. When I first put the band together again, this was like a really kind of scary thing for me in some ways because again, I had never written the whole songs before. And so I had to bring my music to the table and be like, you guys want to do this with me? And they were like, yeah. And so but then we go to perform it and I'm thinking, oh God, what's gonna happen here, you know? Our first show, we kind of lucked out here in Erie. There was a concert series that took place at a local arts center here, PACA, they call it. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but they're not doing them any longer. But it was a Sunday afternoon series. It was live streamed with professional
Wow.
video and lighting and all that, and also people could come and attend. It was hard to get into though. Like you had to kind of know somebody and everything, but I'm kind of persistent. So I persisted and they had a cancellation. And so they asked us if we wanted to come in and do it.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely. So we went in and did that. So our first performance was a live stream, you know, all over YouTube and Facebook and all that. So I think that helped us get off the ground a little bit. And then we started tailing on to other people's shows. We were like, hey, can we open for you? Can we open for you? So we really started out, you know, as the, you know, underdog here in Erie. But then it didn't take us for long. Like I said, we got signed within after the first year. I think we were in year two and it was just like whoa, a whirlwind suddenly, and it was like a good whirlwind. But yeah, I was actually surprised because I told the guys originally, I'm like, my goal in this band is to get us signed and you know get us touring, and so I got us signed and was like, oh, I got a check mark on my box. Like I didn't know
I'm,
if it would happen, but it did. So
I'm so glad you said that because you can't be afraid. So many artists are like, what if they don't want us? Or, no, you gotta ask anyway. And I'm so happy you mentioned that so that other bands will hear that and say, yeah, why don't we give it a try? And the persistence part, thank you. Yeah, there's too many. Oh, they said no. Well, maybe next year there might be somebody new making that decision and they may say yes, keep trying. So that
well,
excellent.
yeah. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's my motto. So, you know, you just have to keep, um, and I think that's where maybe a lot of bands lose their momentum because they turn around and say, okay, well, nobody wants to hear us. So I guess we'll just, you know, play the local corner bar. And it's like you have to get a thick skin,
Yeah.
accept rejection, and then come back at them again and come back at them again. Like, how about now? How about now? How about now? And eventually, you know, somebody does say, you know what? Okay, you guys are, you know, you've been around long enough. We think maybe we'll try you. And then, you know, they're happily surprised. It is still hard to pull crowds. Um, right now in this area, and I've heard this is sort of systemic, but everybody wants to go see cover bands, especially the tribute
Mhm.
bands right now are big. And so as an original act, it's harder to get into the venues. Um, we've crossed the border on a couple of them, but one in particular is probably like the biggest venue in town year round. And we finally have got to play there a couple times, just opening for a tribute band, but a big tribute band. So, you know, 600, 700 people. So
Good.
that's a nice thing. But it, you know, we're one of the only original bands that's playing there occasionally. So we've been able to do that. But it is still hard to, you know, get people to want to try bringing in original music now, which is frustrating. And we've lost a
It-
couple of venues. We have another one that's closing down. So you know,
no.
COVID just really changed the world completely
Yeah.
here for us. So
Well, and I appreciate that what you also said about not being afraid to be a cover, not a cover band, but a support band.
yeah,
That's how you get through the door sometimes, and
yeah,
don't be afraid to ask like you did, and that's wonderful because a lot of bands are like, oh, we're going to be the main stage. Well, you might be waiting for that main stage for a while.
yeah,
Be the support, and then there's been so many historic references to support bands that came out and blew away
yeah,
the band that was the main show.
yeah,
The other thing I wanted to mention too, real quick, because we kind of went by it, but that that thing about going to bars and things like that. Bruce Springsteen still does it. I remember I went to one of his shows when I was a kid, and went home after that. I was tired. I was like, how can this guy, do a 3 hour show? He does. He
Yeah.
three, four,
Wow.
5. And so I went home next day, looked at the newspaper. He went to a bar, a local bar right down in the steel mill area, and he
Nice.
spent another 2 or 3 hours, singing there. I'm like, you never know who's going to be there, but no, even big people do that, and
Yeah, I mean,
so don't be
that's where we
afraid. Yeah,
started. Those are our roots, and yes, playing the big stadium is the ultimate, I want to go to Vakken.
sure,
But,
sure.
but still I do appreciate those smaller shows where you can literally see, fans right up close, lip syncing the lyrics or singing along. And that to me is the most like fulfilling to see that. So you're like, people know our music and they're singing along and they're jamming with us, and that's a whole nother level of performance that I love.
Yeah, and he probably does it for that reason. I can
Yeah,
look at somebody instead of this massive crowd who I
yeah,
can't connect personally with. But yeah,
right.
definitely. So good. You're giving all sorts of great advice to people out there.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on what you said
Go
about
ahead.
being the opening act. You know, I look at our band as we put on a headliner show, but we're not headliners yet. In our local market, we are, but not beyond that. So we are very much ready to jump on to other people's tours as opening acts because, again, it's not about the quality of music. We're not good enough. It's just that we're not seasoned enough in terms of the whole touring and all that kind of stuff. So we are not ready to be a headliner on a tour. We're ready to be jumping onto some of these bigger bands and touring with them to get our feet wet and also to build our presence a little bit more in the industry.
And you can learn a lot from doing that too, which you're talking about. I interviewed Visions of Atlantis and just missed their show. They were support for a huge band from, and I never can remember their name because I'm really not into their music. But anyway, and I don't think, and the music didn't match either. I mean, they were
Yeah,
doing their symphonic metal. These guys are more, I don't know. Anyway, they jumped on board, and that band brought them over here to America, allowed them to tour America, and
right.
now they're huge. And now they go back to Europe, and everyone knows who they are. So, yeah, those kind of connections really absolutely help, and don't be afraid to do those things. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. All right, let's. I just want to talk to you briefly about Erie and or, what are your favorite places to go? What do you do? Um, what do you do? What kinds of food do you like? Where do you restaurants, that kind of thing? If somebody should go to Erie.
So Erie here, well, I mean, we have the lake here. I live probably about 4 or 5 miles from the lake, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then Presque Isle we have here, which is a great peninsula here, right out on Lake Erie. And people tend to underestimate what Lake Erie's like. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the next to the smallest of the five Great Lakes, but it's still a very big lake. And we have I think it's one of the world's best sunsets ever.
Oh,
Like there
well,
is
yeah.
never a bad sunset in Erie unless there's absolutely no sun today. But they're gorgeous. And even sometimes when the sun's behind clouds from rains, we get this beautiful light show in the sky. Every night here in Erie, we have a beautiful sunset, and I love that. So that's a really cool thing that we have here. Our music scene is very vibrant too. There is
Good.
nightlife, especially in the summertime here from like Tuesday night through Sunday. You can go and see a band somewhere. Now, again, a lot of it's cover and tribute and things like that, but there's also original music here. So it's a really vibrant music scene. People are really surprised to find that out. And then as far as food, so I lived in Philly for a lot of years and I became a cheesesteak addict.
Cheese things. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my
and
God.
and also pizza because they have pizza that's just kind of like
Yep.
borders New York, so it's about the same. So it's really good pizza down in Philly. When I moved out back out this way, it was like, oh boy, I miss bread and soft pretzels and cheesesteaks, but there's like Erie is known for its hot dogs. So
Oh,
we have Smith's hot dogs, and they're regional. I think they're starting to spread them out a little bit, but it's still a small company. I'm not a hot dog person, but these hot dogs are awesome. They're really flavorful and good. They're different. So that is the big Erie claim to fame here. So you got to get a hot dog when you come here and
okay.
make sure it's a Smith's. They mostly are everywhere. Um, and then we do have some good Italian. We have a little Italian place called Valerio's up the street, and it's a real tiny little mom and pop place, and they have excellent food. So I'm a foodie, so
Good,
but
good.
yeah, there's a lot of great places to eat in Erie, and we have a nice bayfront with a lot of seafood places. So there's a lot to do here. You're never really bored in Erie. There's always kind of something going on, which is nice. But it's a small city with it's a small city with a small town feel, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Everybody kind of knows everybody here.
And I'm glad you mentioned that about Lake Erie because when I was growing up, we had I don't know if you remember this, the burning Cuyahoga River, the
Uh,
only river that I've known that's caught on fire.
yeah, I kind of remember.
And of course, that flowed out into Lake Erie. And at that time, this was 70s, late 70s, they actually said the fish were all dead and
Oh wow.
the lake was dead.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the 80s and 90s, they brought everything back. And and I remember there's a beautiful place way on the west side of the lake, Sandusky, where we had a big, have you been to Cedar Point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a
Okay,
few
so she
times.
knows what I'm talking about. And those roller coasters, you get on top of the thing and you're looking out over the lake and you're like, oh my God, I'm going in. No, but yeah, that area was beautiful. I mean, the waterfront looked like, the beach. I mean, like
Right.
the ocean. But they really have cleaned it, right? And
Well,
go
it's
ahead.
interesting how that happened. So apparently we had an infiltration of these zebra mussels that came
Oh,
in on a ship or whatever, and they were not supposed to be here. And so they were kind of taking over, but they inadvertently cleaned the lake. So a lot of the
it's like,
pollution
thank
that
you.
was in the lake, yeah. So a lot of the lake was really polluted, like you said, I think back in the 70s and even 80s. But then these zebra mussels came along, I think somewhere in the 90s maybe, and they filtered the lake. So it's really clear now. It's not as clear as like going down to, Mexico on the Gulf, but
Yeah,
it's very clear. In fact, now we're having problems with algae blooms because the water's so clear that the sun's making it down and making these plants grow better. So, we have some issues still, but it's a different issue, and the lake is very clean now, which is really nice. It's beautiful.
good. I remember some people going down and swimming back then, and I was like, no, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
When
it's
my
not
parents are like, no, you're not doing that. But
like
now it sounds like not a problem. You can just jump in
yeah.
okay.
The
You had,
only problems we have now, we did have some problems this summer with some bacteria levels at some of
yeah.
the at the Bay Beach, especially. But yeah, other than that, that's from runoff and whatnot from farms. So
And we have that even in the ocean, or I mean, in the sound here in Puget Sound,
yeah,
when it's sunny like this, and then the
yeah,
rains come and take care of everything.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about your album because it's a beauty.
Thank you.
Start with Brigade. It's it's an example. I wrote it's an example of the band's commitment to pure, genuine metal rock. Um, Talk about what's the inspiration and um, what's the Brigade? I mean, I have my feelings, but I want to hear yours.
So you'll see a theme in my lyrics. My
Okay,
lyrics are always very emotional. I
you
had
went
mentioned
through a
that
lot.
yeah,
It's
I've been in this
understandable.
toxic marriage, and got out of it. And Brigade tells the story, and I really love the lyrics in this one that I did. I pat myself on the back because they're metaphoric, but they do still tell the story. Um, that you lock your heart up after something like that,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the warning in the song is that you keep these walls up and you're going to end up, your heart's going to turn to stone.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
just going to be incapable, so you have to open yourself back up again. So it's sort of what that story is. It's about the brigade is the protection against you having feelings for somebody beyond, uh, normal friendship kind of
Gotcha.
things, not trusting again and all of that. So that's really the foundation of that song.
Okay, was Love Bomb influenced by Kiss? Because I wrote in my review that it just sounds like it belongs on a Kiss album.
It's funny because no, I mean I do like Kiss, but maybe back in my subconscious somewhere, but it wasn't really thought of when I did this. Originally, I sat down with Love Bomb at the piano, and I came up with a chord progression and a vocal line that went with what we do. But I didn't want keyboards in this song. I decided this was no keyboard song. This needed to be a straight up kind of heavier rock type song. And so I brought it to our guitar player at the time and I said, okay, listen to what I've done. Now go write something because I don't want keyboards. And he's looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, well, this is how I'm going to write now. So get ready for it. So it was actually his first song with us because up until that point, we'd had somebody else in place. We hadn't played out or anything yet, but he came on board. So it was the first riff he got to write for the band. So it was a culmination of my chord progressions and the syncopation and all that I did put in there, but the riffs and everything our guitar player came up with, and he's very heavily influenced by old school metal like Judas Priest and
Okay.
um, you know uh, George Lynch and people like that. So his that's probably where that sound came from, which is a lot like what Kiss was doing back in the
Yeah.
day.
All right. Parasites, you really dug into your X on this one, it sounds like.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. That was my sort of taking it all back song. Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of those on there, but that one was the first one that I wrote that had that, yeah, you're the loser now kind of twist to it.
All right. And then Set Me Free is probably another part of that. Uh, don't, just keep me hanging there. I want a life, and
That was sort of almost a retrospective song. That whole idea of like, why are you, treating me like this and keeping me here? Like, why don't you just get rid of me? Let me go, but that's not how power struggles work in abusive relationships. So unfortunately, they don't. But that was my sort of cry for just let me out of here kind of song. And it was retrospective that I wrote it, but it definitely was about being very stuck and hopeless.
yeah. All right. And Fallen was remastered. So, and there's, I think, two or three others that are remastered. So these are some of those older tracks you were talking about that you maybe had on other albums and you wanted to. In what way did you refine them? That's what I'm trying to get to.
So what
Go ahead.
happened actually is Fallen we released as a single. So it's still with the same, same way that it was, but we released it as a single. And when we did it, we have a local guy here who tracks us, and he actually mixed and mastered the original version of that. So, and it's kind of a funny story. Like Fallen was not going to be my first choice as a single. I felt like it was a little risky because it's our only ballad and, power ballad, and I didn't know how that would go over. And also, I was afraid it might pigeonhole us. Like, if you remember, I'm gonna forget what they're called. More Than Words song. I can't think of what the name of the band is. It's leaving my brain back in the 90s.
Know who you're talking about, and I can't
Yeah,
remember.
and it just left my brain. I know who they are. I just can't think of them. I really like them. But when they came out with that, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this song, this I love this." I remember my mother being like, "I love this band," and I'm like, "Mom, you
Not
need to
till
listen to the
Tuesday.
rest of the album," you know.
Was
But
it
anyway,
till Tuesday?
No,
Oh, no, no, yeah,
oh gosh, I have to look it up.
that's
Um,
okay.
yeah,
That's a,
but
it,
my
I was trying to go through my
yeah.
brain.
But we had been playing live at this point, and we had a radio station come to us and say, a local station here, and say, "Hey, please tell me that you have this song available for us to play on the radio." And I was like, it's not yet, but we will make that happen. So we had already tracked the album, but we hadn't finished anything or had it produced or anything like that. So we did. We went right in and we got Fallen Out, and it ended up on the radio. It got like
Wow.
number 6 in
Oh,
the radio station's top 98, because it's 98.9. Their top 98 for the year. I mean, we beat out Metallica on their station. I was like, this is crazy.
yeah,
So it was a good choice, but the reason it
yeah.
was remastered then was, and same with the other songs, they were all released as singles, and then they were sent to our where we had our album mastered and mixed for the rest of the songs to Nashville by Ben Watt. So that's why they were remastered on the album.
And I think you told me we had like a chat earlier this week, and you told me that that is the fans' biggest, your fans' favorite, right?
It's
Remember?
funny, yeah. It seems
Yeah.
like I think there's a wider audience that it reaches. So we've been told by a lot of people that that's their favorite song that we do. Um, and it's funny, we kind of are careful sometimes when we play it live. We don't always have time to play. We have like 90 minutes straight of music right now if we were to play just straight without any breaks. So um, we're like, if it's a shorter show, we have to pick and choose what we're going to play depending on where we're playing it, what kind of audience we expect. We don't always put Fallen in the set because we have found if you're playing to a pretty hardcore metal audience, they all like, oh, this is my time to go to the bathroom and grab a drink or
That's it.
whatever it
Yeah.
is. So we learned early on that maybe Fallen isn't appropriate for every single venue that we play, but um,
Or
unless we're
maybe
playing
let it
club.
be the encore.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, listen to me. You want to talk about that? That's sounds like, well, go ahead.
Yeah. So Listen to Me is inspired by that. This is going on getting past my past and going on to the future a little bit. It's about when you're in a relationship with somebody who just isn't getting it. Like they're not really listening to you. And it's pretty, on the nose. You just in relationships, and I think this is a thing with men and women in particular relationships, where the men sometimes just tune us out when we're trying to talk about our
Mhm.
feelings. And so it's kind of about that. It's about like, listen, if you don't, then you're going to lose me because you're
Yeah.
not getting it, you're not meeting my needs right now. And so it was about a relationship that I was in at the time. So that's where that one came about.
All right. And then broken. I
Broken
know you
is
want to talk about that one. Yeah.
and that one is about thinking somebody was something that they weren't.
Yeah.
Feeling like you could trust them with everything and doing that, finally getting rid of the brigade and
Yeah.
letting them in and then them failing you miserably on all that. So that's what that's about, that devastation of trying again and then
Yeah.
feeling completely let down.
Mm. Where love resides. So this sounded more positive that, or go ahead.
Yeah, Where
Does
Love
it turn the
Resides.
page? Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, I can't, I'm never seeming to quite get it. Like the whole like I give it, but I don't get it in return sort of story,
Yeah.
where I'm with somebody, but I don't feel like they're in, you know what I mean? Like they're not returning that love. So I feel lonely. So the one line is, you lay beside me, but I'm alone in my heart.
Yeah.
So it's about you having those feelings, but not feeling like they're being reciprocated. So that's pretty much what that song's about.
I was going to ask you this question, so we'll just see where you go with it. But we definitely have a lack of empathy in this country for sure.
Right.
Um, you and maybe that extends to the world as well. How do we get it back? I just want to see. I mean, none of us has the key. I wish we did. I
Yeah.
don't have the key. I would never assume that I do. But what's your advice? What would you say?
I mean, my contribution to that is this whole music. I think
Yeah.
personally, okay, so I'm gonna sound all weird and stuff, but when
No.
I feel like music was what I was meant to do. I'm not particularly religious or anything. I'm maybe kind of spiritual, but I had a calling to this since I was really little. And so I feel like music is a language and we can speak that language to each other. And that's where all that empathy and love and goodness comes from. And even in my angry lyrics, I'm giving you my emotions.
And
I'm
you're,
not hiding
yeah,
them. I'm not bottling them up. And the more we all do that with each other, I think the better it gets.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Better to tell the truth no matter how bad it is.
Right. And, there's nothing wrong with anger. There's nothing wrong with sadness. All those are normal emotions that we have. And people have been taught over time, especially the males, to suppress those because they're not manly or they're not. And, my opinion on that matter is it takes way, way, way more gusto to actually show your emotions than to hide them. So if you want to show somebody you're tough, show me your emotions.
Definitely. All right, now I'm going to ask you another one here. Make Me Bleed. Was this a response to Alice Cooper?
No, it really
Okay.
wasn't. It actually, when you brought that up, I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that, but that's funny. But maybe in some way, because it is sort of a little bit of a feministic spin, but I mean, it could apply to any gender, really. But
Sure.
it was, me really, that was my another anger song where I was telling the ex, or people like him in general, you're not going to take advantage of me ever again. Like, this is it. There's no way to do that anymore.
All right. And then Wake the Monster.
That's about me.
Uh,
So, after having been in a very toxic relationship, you end up with triggers. And so, my current significant other, he might use wording that's similar to something that my ex said, or, forget to text me on his way home from somewhere where I didn't, know he was going to be this late, and I get triggered.
yeah.
So I start to think all these bad feelings again, and it's really I describe it almost as a feeling in your stomach. It's a knot, and then your body goes into this hyper vigilant mode, and and if you don't know how to deal with me when I'm having these triggers, I lose my stuff.
Yeah.
So
As
um
most people
yeah.
would.
Yeah, so I don't flight very much. I fight. So yeah, that's what that's about. That's about being triggered. That's what the one line is. It might not be what you deserve, but that's what's being served. So
Don't do it again, and
yeah, like,
you'll never get served that.
I mean, my triggers are my own problem, but what you do when you see that I'm triggered is your problem at this time.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
do the
and
things
that's
that
true of any relationship. Yeah. No, that's
yeah,
very
yeah,
true. You got to be there,
yeah.
as they say.
And
And
being with somebody who's been in a toxic relationship like this,
it's even
is
more
it's
important.
way harder to deal with. I told my guy now, I'm like, when we first got together, we've been together for 5 years now, but I'm like, I'm not easy to deal with. And it's not that I'm not worthy or any of that kind of stuff. It's just that I need a little bit more TLC than the average person
You've
because of
been
what I've been
through.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets
You've been
better
through
over time.
some. Well, yeah, hopefully he understands that
Yeah,
and
he
and
does.
does as much as he can to prevent those incidents. Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten a whole lot further, right? In the early
Yeah.
stages, listen to me is about him.
Okay. Um, all right. So if you could collaborate with any band or artist, who would you choose? I think it's probably Pat Benatar, but
It is, yeah,
I
absolutely.
was going to say,
I tried like heck to get in front of her when she was here in Erie this past spring, but you really they go through their own booking people and all that kind of stuff, and we couldn't. But that would be my ultimate goal. I did say though, if I do open up for her, and I hope I get to someday. I think my legs will be jello. I don't get nervous to perform anymore. I've been performing since I was a little girl. I love the stage. I get exhilaration from it. I don't get nerves. Um, but if I have to open for Pat Benatar, I am going to be legit nervous for the first time in a very long
Which
time on stage.
you shouldn't feel bad about that. I mean, in
Yeah,
front of a
no,
legend
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Do they have meet and greets?
She had like it was a VIP thing, and at the time we couldn't swing it, so it was very
Uh,
expensive. So the tickets themselves
yeah,
were very expensive, so we didn't get to do it. But we did, as we were walking back to the car, we saw them all standing out by the tour bus, and I was kind of like,
hi there.
call me over. I'll come over.
Yeah.
But I did, this is the one thing that I did manage to do. I got a CD into her hand because the merch guy at the table
Oh,
was on the
good.
tour bus with him. And so we started talking, and I was telling him, she's my ultimate idol. I said, but I would really love to get a CD to her. I have one here. He's like, oh, totally. I can get that to her. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, on the bus. I'm like, awesome. So I don't know if she ever listened to it, but she has a CD.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah. I told millions of people about this, and well, not maybe not millions, but um, when I was younger, probably far less nervous about these things than I am now. But I walked into, do you know who Marillion is?
Who is? I'm sorry, say that again.
Marillion?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. They're a huge prog band out of England.
Okay.
And back when Fish was the lead singer,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
if you ever get a chance to listen to some of that, it's incredible. But anyway, walked in there, and my brother's right behind me. He's like, I'm leaving because the police are going to grab you." And it's like, no. He walked by the lead singer. He goes, "Come on in, meet the band." I was like, "You got to be kidding." So you never know. Don't be
No,
afraid. I'm not telling people, storm the
stalk.
gates
Don't
and
stalk the
and
artist. But well,
break in. No,
we have
but
a similar story.
yeah,
With a smaller band, but they're becoming well known, Paralandra, and we're
oh
good
yeah,
friends with them now.
oh,
But we went to their show, and I had been listening to their albums prior, and they came kind of semi-local. They were over in Akron, so we went to go see them, and Scott, my significant other, and I were there together, and we saw the show. I had told Paralandra online that we were going to be there, and they commented back, and I was like, all right. So they did have like a VIP meet and greet thing, which we didn't get tickets for or whatever. But there were people in line kind of getting ready to get their album signed. They were buying merch and stuff, and they were all standing over at the merch table. So I got in line, and Scott's going, you can't do that. You didn't buy VIP tickets. I'm like, they know who we are. It's good. It's all good. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" No. And he was like ready to go,
don't
like
be
sit in the car.
afraid.
He's like, "I'm not
Yeah,
staying here with you."
yeah,
And I'm like, "Come on." And then we got up there, and like Cassandra came up to me and gave me a big hug. She's like, "It's so nice to finally meet you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they know who we are." And then I started talking to Paul Carson. He's like, "I've been listening to your stuff. It's really good." And I'm like, "See? See?"
can't be afraid. Yeah, you just never know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. And you mentioned Akron, Chrissy Hine. There's another
Yeah, yeah,
vendor.
she's another one. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's got an album coming out now, or they're working on an album.
Oh,
So yeah. Um, let's see. What would you choose as your favorite album of all time?
wow. Oh, it's going to be a weird one when you hear it. Because this is from my childhood, and it's not metal. I was, like I said, really into all sorts of different music growing up, and so Seven and the Ragged Tiger from Duran Duran.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a good album. That
And Rio
that's
was
not my
close
favorite
second.
Duran Duran, but it is an excellent Duran Duran album.
Yeah, yeah.
I still
All
love Rio, but
Rio too. I mean,
yeah,
Rio's got a lot of great songs on it too. But Seven and the Ragged
it is a
Tiger
very
is
good.
like has a deep meaning, like a childhood meaning for me. Me and my girlfriend, we were gonna marry the band, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the whole nine yards. And we
That
listened to that album inside and out. I knew every single word and every
that
melody.
whole Indiana Jones sort of the videos they had and everything,
Yeah,
it just hit at the perfect time.
yeah,
It made
yeah.
them legends. Yeah,
They were incredibly talented band. I mean, they're still
yeah,
around
yeah. Oh
today,
yeah,
but I mean,
good,
yeah,
great music.
yeah.
For a while there, I was say, well, who took over for the Beach Boys with beach music? It was them.
Yeah, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right. Well, so you are already working on singles, new singles. I think you said new singles
Yeah.
and new album.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to release singles for a while and then probably do a compilation of those singles again. We're finding that in today's streaming world, the album maybe waiting to release all the songs on an album isn't the best way to go about it. And the reason I say that is because, people know our Love Bomb, they know our Listen to Me, they know Fallen, they know Broken, and those were all released as singles. What I just recently did a lyric video for Parasite, and people were like, "Oh, I love this song," and I'm like, "Wait, you don't know about it yet because it's been out since November." So you
Yeah.
find that people aren't necessarily listening to whole albums anymore. They're
Yeah.
picking and choosing which songs they know and like. So and we kind of did that as kids to some extent, but the old days of 45s, you knew the B-side maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't, yeah, I think we're gonna try to do some singles and then eventually,
Good.
like I said, an album again because it is nice to have that album, to have that CD to release. But we have right now, I want to say 5 or 6 songs
Well,
already
you almost
that
got
have
an
been
EP.
done.
Well, you got an EP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, we may do something like that. Again, now we're just waiting to get new people caught up to speed. Our drummer knows the album and 2 additional songs. So we're gonna have to start, once we get the guitar player caught up now, we're gonna have to start looking at, getting the rest of those other songs that were already done caught up, and then and also somehow in the middle of all that do some writing. So that's where we're at right now, trying to figure out how to balance all that. But that's why we don't have any major shows on the books right now, because we're hoping by next summer during festival season we'll be ready to go, and hopefully that's where we'll be. But who knows? We may have some tours coming up before that too, because like I said, we're working with an agent now who's kind of chomping the bit to get us booked. So
Good.
just
Yeah.
I should say, I don't have a lineup yet. Don't have a lineup yet. Just wait. So I think
Well,
we're good to go
please,
now.
please keep sending those to me. I'll, as many as I can, I'll
Absolutely.
um, post them up because I want to help everyone that's an independent artist.
Thank you.
And um, we want to build your base and grow.
We really
Um,
appreciate people like yourself.
I-
We wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for all you guys doing the behind the scenes stuff for us, getting us the publicity because, it's really hard to stand out in this
yeah,
industry right now because it is flooded. And so to try to get above that noise, some of it, no pun intended, it's
you're right.
really hard. So we appreciate all these interviews and album reviews. That was the most phenomenal album review I think I could
Thank you.
ever have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that's the extent of the questions that I had. We covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that I missed or anything you wanted to talk about? Or,
No, I just want
oh,
to.
yeah, wait. Oh, my
Oh
God.
yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking about it when you were talking and then I forgot, but I remembered. Today you posted some pictures of
Oh yeah,
what looks like it's going to be a new video. Are
it's
you
actually
gonna?
our old video actually. It's
Oh,
our broken video.
oh,
So
okay.
it was released about a year or so ago now, I think.
Oh, okay. I
About
thought it
that.
was
Oh
new.
no, that's okay. Yeah, I think we released it last July.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just doing a little bit. The we just went
Pre
and saw
pre
the new.
Halloween.
Yeah, and we just went and saw the new. Yeah, I'm gonna forget what it's called movie, the Conjuring movie last night. And I thought, this is a good time to start releasing, more Halloween type stuff. People are really into this theme. So I thought, let's put this back out because there's a lot of people who probably haven't seen that video yet. I'm really proud of our videos, our music videos. I don't know if you've seen
Yes.
it. Yeah, but we have fun with them, and I am of that thought of I don't want to just stand in a warehouse and play. There's nothing wrong with it, but I want to do something more exciting and a little bit more of a storyline. And so our
Are
first
you,
one was Listen to Me, which was quite a big, long little mini movie. And then when Broken came along, I wanted to do the horror theme. I had this idea when I thought of the word broken, I thought of a broken doll.
oh yeah.
And so that just kind of led into the story that it ended up being.
Will you do more videos for this album or are you working on videos for the new singles that you have?
So we have toyed around with it. The problem is we don't have the current, the lineup has changed. So to get the new people in the video, we would have to, retrack. So we did do a little bit of retracking in the past. So we may release something. We'll see. Um, if not, we'll definitely start to go with yeah, the newer songs. We have a song called Villain that's going to be next. I believe will be our next single, and that has all sorts of potential for some fun things.
Oh,
So,
just the title, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. All right, now, is there anything else that you would like to mention that I totally forgot that one and
Oh no, that's okay.
glad I remembered.
No, basically just, come check us out on social media. You can find us on YouTube at Eden on Fire, one word. You can find us on Facebook. We're Eden on Fire Metal Band on Facebook, and we're Eden on Fire Band on Instagram, Eden on Fire Band on TikTok. And then, of course, we're also on the threads on Instagram. We have a band camp if you want to help support the band. Most of the funds when you buy our album there go to us. Yesterday was Bandcamp Friday, so all of them went to us. And that's just at edenonfire.bandcamp.com. So that's a great way to support us if you want to buy our album and have the whole album digitally for yourself. But yeah, come support us, follow us. The more followers we get, the more the industry pays attention to us. Come
Definitely.
follow us.
And once I, get this all, finished, this interview, I'll have all those websites and
Oh, thank you.
her current music videos, links to all those, both on the Progressive Rock Central, and then I also post them to Facebook. So
Thank you.
you'll be able to look at either one of them, and it'll be there. You'll be able to find this, and yeah. Well, Amy, I don't know how to say thank you, but thank you.
Oh, thank
Again,
you.
I'm going to thank you again because I'm hoping more people will do what you did, make a video out of my, because that was it just blew me out of my chair. I was like, wow, she made,
Oh.
I told my wife, and my wife was like, really? Because no one's done that. So thank you for that.
You're so
Really, thank you.
welcome.
And
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for the kind words about the album. I wanted everybody to hear them. So,
but enjoy everything you're doing. It looks like you absolutely enjoy what you're doing
I-
already, and that's 100% of it. If you don't enjoy it, it shows on stage.
yeah,
It shows in the music, everything. But I definitely can tell you are, and that keep that going.
thank you.
Eden on Fire, Unresolved. It's not unresolved. It's resolved that this is a hell of a band.
Thank
Go and get this and listen to it. And thank you again, Amy, for everything.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and we'll turn this off, and then you and I can talk a little bit. But thank
Sure.
you again, and
No problem.
please give this a listen. Give her album a listen, or their album, and that's all you need. And I know you'll want more. All right.